So Reform's latest back of a fag packet policy has been announced today, and as expected, they're not going after personal tax dodgers, they're not going after corporate tax dodgers. Yep, they're starting with the hard targets first. They're going after disabled people. And their latest plan, which quite possibly could put up to 500,000 people out of work, so they want to reform the benefit system, particularly around payments for disabilities and the personal independence payment, otherwise known as PIP. Now, PIP is one of the most misunderstood benefits out there. So I want to give you some facts about this benefit so that you know what it is and what it isn't. So the purpose of PIP, the clue is in the name, personal independence payment. It's a payment that goes to people to help them maintain their independence. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean in real life? Well, the sorts of things that people will spend PIP on are things such as accessible transport and commuting. It may not be possible for people with certain disabilities to use public transport or to use a car. Sometimes there are additional parking costs, so they can be close to accessible entrances. Things like energy and utilities. People with some disabilities have medical equipment that's expensive to run, oxygen concentrators, electric wheelchairs, hoist systems, CPAP machines. These things all need constant running. There are also issues that can be aggravated by the cold, so some people may need to have their house hotter than most people would, so their heating bills, their energy bills may be higher than normal. There could be out-of-pocket expenses for mobility scooters, for communication aids, ergonomic chairs, and all of these things need maintenance if they're not fully provided by the NHS. Added to this, there are certain disabilities that mean, you know what, you can actually perform an office job exactly as competently as someone who doesn't have that disability, but you might struggle to use your washing machine at home, you might not be able to look after your garden or decorate your house, and PIP can go towards paying for things like that. So this is not an out of work benefit, it's not something that goes to people who are not working. Yes, some people who don't work get it, and yes, it isn't means tested, and that is an area that could be looked at. I think means testing it somewhere between the higher level of tax and the top level of tax wouldn't be particularly unfair. You know, if you're earning £125,000 a year, you probably don't need PIP. However, blanket removing it, as Reform are proposing to do, has been researched consistently, and every time people look at it, it is deduced that removing PIP altogether would increase worklessness. There are around 5.5 million disabled people working in the UK, and of those, around 650,000 of them are claiming PIP, and that PIP is helping them to stay in work. So if you remove that, for many of those, and I'm not saying all of them, but for many of those, you're removing their ability to continue to work. So what do you create? If you remove someone's ability to work, what do you create? Yeah, you create an unemployed person. Well done, generic. Why don't you just get back to painting murals over? Now, let's have a look at some more myths around PIP. One of them is that it's easy to fake. You can just look up some people on YouTube, follow a few instructions, fill a form in, job's a good one, you've got PIP if you want it. This claim is absolute nonsense. There's no evidence to support this at all. PIP has one of the strictest assessment processes in the UK welfare system. Around 50 to 55% of all new applications are rejected, and that's because of the way the assessment process is done. There is a points-based system. Points are assigned based on your physical and cognitive abilities. You know, can you prepare food? Can you move around unaided? Assessors then check for consistency. They check across your medical reports. It has one of the lowest fraud rates in the entire benefit system, currently sitting at between 0.2 and 0.4%. So this is one of the least defrauded payments in the entire welfare system. But polls repeatedly show that the UK public believe that benefit fraud amounts for 20 to 30% of the entire welfare budget. And the reason people think that is because that's what cretins like this keep telling us, and it's just not true. So let's have a look at one of the other myths of PIP, and this is one that really irritates me, because this one isn't just reform. Kemi Badenoch's got form for pulling these figures out as well. And that's that people are getting PIP for things like IBS, sore back, or things like that. It's absolute nonsense. PIP is awarded, as we've already discussed, based on functional impairment. So that's, are you able to move? Is your cognitive ability impaired? Now, what quite often happens is people will have comorbidities. You could have someone with a serious condition. So let's say someone has late stage renal failure, but they also have osteoarthritis in one hand. Their PIP application may note both conditions, but they're getting the PIP because of the renal failure, not because of the arthritis in the hand. You could keep going on. You could have people who have severe bipolar disorder, but also have mild asthma. They're not getting PIP for the asthma. Someone has severe spinal stenosis, meaning they need assistance moving around, but they also have mild IBS. They're not getting PIP for the IBS. Comorbidities may be noted, but the PIP is awarded for the primary conditions that they have. So where could they make some of this money? Well, I had a bit of a look at that, and you know, there are options. So according to HMRC, around £36 billion a year is lost in unpaid tax. So some of this is unintentional, fine, but some of this is tax evasion and fraud combined. On top of that, there's around 11 billion in unpaid tax from large businesses. There's also an estimated 12 billion in tax evasion through the use of offshore facilities, and some people believe that figure is very significantly higher. And then there's the big fat elephant in the room. Brexit is reported and studied and generally accepted to be costing the UK between 6 and 8% of GDP. That's between 140 billion and 180 billion every single year. So it seems to me there are a few places where we could be looking to save money before we start targeting disabled people. Now, a few caveats for the hard of thinking. No, I'm not saying that everyone should just be able to get any benefit they want. No, I'm not saying that there isn't fraud. And no, I'm not saying that benefit fraud is okay. However, if you have a system that takes care of the people that need the help, and as a byproduct of that, a handful of people manage to game the system and get something they're not really entitled to, if you have to hurt all of the people who have a right to that money and deserve that money, if you have to hurt all of those in order to stop the handful, then I think our system is currently leaning in the right way. And I'm not saying there isn't room for reform of certain parts of the welfare system. It is a huge bill. There are places we can look. We could look at the triple lock, 16 billion a year. I believe that one costs us. So there are many places that reform could look for this money. But where do they want to take it from? Millionaires? Wealthy pensioners? Nah. They want to take it off young people by dropping the minimum wage, and they want to take it off disabled people by taking everything. These are not serious people, and they are not being honest about how these figures add up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure there will be a lot of people chomping at the bit to disagree with me on this one. So please drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you like that sort of stuff. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike if you don't. That's all good. And I hope it was useful. I'll see you in the next one.